A warm welcome to Hampden Park, scene of so many passionate and memorable World Cup qualifying matches in years gone by. Let's hope we're in for another one tonight. Scotland versus Italy in Group 5. And can the Hampden Roars spur the Scots on against the section leaders? Hello from me, Derek Ray. ESPN's coverage of the road to Germany continues. And Tommy Smith has joined me for commentary. Realistically, Tommy, what are the chances of a Scottish triumph?
Well, when you look at the way the table is situated, you see Italy with 13 and Scotland with 6. You would have to say that, Italy are big favourites coming in here, but they have to play the games. And as you said, there's a lot of emotion here tonight, and maybe that will help Scotland along. And Italy are not in the habit of trouncing teams, so it could be a very close encounter.
Yes, the Scots feel they're still in with a chance of finishing second in the group. But they need 4 points from the next two games against Italy tonight and away to Norway on Wednesday. Rejoin us from Hampden after the break. Glorious late afternoon sunshine here at Hampden. And Scotland's faint hopes of reaching the World Cup finals could swell or be dashed over the next 4 days. Italy have no doubt they'll be in Germany. The feeling in their camp seems to be that it's a question of when rather than if. And the Azzurri could well and truly burst the Scottish bubble tonight. Indeed, knife it mercilessly. Andrea Pirlo there, sitting just in front of the back four as he does for club and country. Italy in the white shirts and the blue shorts, attacking the goal to our right in this first half. Scotland with David Weir in the centre of the defence, Jackie McNamara out at left back. It'll be interesting to see where Christian Daly properly lines up. He can be a central defender, a third central defender, or he can be the man protecting the back four just in front. Rino Gattuso, having returned to Glasgow for this match, of course, the former Rangers player.
Player who's going to play very hard, you always know that, and when you look at that back four, you wouldn't even think that they would need somebody sitting in front of it. I mean, Cannavaro and Nesta in the middle of the defence.
Here's Francesco Totti with the first free kick of the game, and danger right at the start. Vieri was just a couple of yards from goal, and somehow Craig Gordon was able to block it. Well, anxious moments for the Scots right at the outset.
Case of the defenders falling asleep up back there, and only for the keeper coming up with that big save. He came out and made himself big.
But now Kenny Miller for Scotland. Still plays his club football for Wolves in the Championship in England. And it was a bit tousy over on the far side.
Watch what happens on the back post. Look at this. Nobody picked him up at all. Vieri coming in, and the big boot. The keeper comes out, spreads himself very well. That's actually Zagardo who came in on the outside. He was the last man on the line, and he got the boot onto it. But Gordon comes up with a huge save.
Yes, it was Christian Zagardo who'd gone bustling forward, the Palermo fullback. And the Scots are fortunate still to be on level terms. 0-0 with 2 minutes gone here in the Glasgow sunshine. Daniele De Rossi just required a bit of treatment there, but appears to be okay. Nesta and Cannavaro together at the back for Italy. They have Pirlo, the creator, in midfield, and Gattuso, who very often is the destroyer. Cannavaro, the captain. And Zambrotta, the Juventus left back, and he was robbed of it rather easily in the end by Paul Hartley. And that's an interesting ball. Kenny Miller now want to turn away from his man Alessandro Nesta. And Fletcher's pass was a poor one.
Yeah, and what made it even poorer, Derek, was that he had a couple of men wide open at the outside of the box.
An open start to this World Cup qualifier, and here's Francesco Totti. Slightly misjudged that time by Jackie McNamara, and it bounces back to the goalkeeper, back into the custody of Craig Gordon. Christian Vieri leading the line for Italy, man who scored 22 goals at international level.
I'd say he might be a little bit surprised, judging on the conversation we had with him on the ESPN Soccernet press pass, that he's actually got to start with the Italian team right now. I thought he might have felt that he was going to be relegated to be coming on as a substitute.
Italy, the top dogs in Group 5.
What was even more surprised about Sicardo coming in on that back post, Derek, is the fact that he's playing right full back. You can see him there in your picture, and he had to go up all the way up the field and go on the opposite side to get in on the pass.
Gattuso went down and was apparently fouled by Nigel Quasi. Gattuso didn't like the treatment that was being dished out.
Generally, it's Gattuso that's dishing out the treatment. He's one of those very, very tough midfielders, and this time he got fouled.
Quickly rolled out there by Craig Gordon, one of 3 Hearts players in the starting 11 for the Scots. Hearts, of course, the runaway leaders in the SPL with 15 points from the first 5 matches.
I would say of all the championships in the world, Hearts have to be the feel-good story, don't they? I mean, it's no longer the talk about the old firm, it's the talk about Hearts.
And they've played some wonderful football into the bargain. Cannavaro. De Rossi for Italy. And Vieri just for a second there had taken up that deeper position. Headed forward by the Scotland captain Barry Ferguson. Now Darren Fletcher of Manchester United. Graham Alexander of Preston North End is at the right back for Scotland. And Hartley showing a good deal of invention. Fletcher trying to go around the outside. It's a useful ball just over the head of Nigel Quasi. And McNamara does ever so well to keep it in. And
that's an
appeals
intense back
from
pass.
the Scottish players, yes, that might well have been a back pass. But Peruzzi was there to gobble it up, and referee Lubos Michel wasn't at all interested in the Scottish appeals.
Oh, he missed it. He absolutely missed it. There's not even a question in the world that it was a back pass.
Handball perhaps against De Rossi. The referee thought otherwise. And now Italy trying to get in behind the Scotland defence. Zambrotta's gone forward with options in the centre. Totti was arriving, and it's behind for a corner. 1 or 2 Scottish players still feeling that it was handball over on the far side.
Yeah, it certainly looked like a handball, but a beautiful ball in here. The defender falls down, which is not good news, and then they're lining up in the middle. He took the wrong option. Iaquinta was wide open.
Totti with a short corner. And over it comes again for Italy. Alexander was there to get a boot to it. Pirlo now. Scored twice against Scotland when the teams met in Milan back in March. Both exquisite free kicks. Hartley. And it comes off the combative Daniele De Rossi.
You just have a feeling that it might be one of those days for Italy to keep banging the ball in and nothing's happening. It's just not going in the right places. The Scots standing back there and just getting it out and doing whatever they have to just to clear the lines. I mean, the one good thing for Scotland today, if you want to look at it as the good thing, is that a draw will do Italy fine.
So a draw might do Scotland fine, in actual fact. The feeling in the camp is that they need 4 points from the next 2 games. They play away to Norway on Wednesday. Remember, all they're after is second place. And it's a bit tighter than you might think in the race for that second spot, with so many draws abounding in matches between the various protagonists. Slovenia and Norway, by the way, will be in action later on this evening.
But I think the key is that they have to get a victory in one of these games. They either have to beat Italy or they have to beat Norway.
Walter Smith on the left, Tommy Burns on the right.
A few years ago there wouldn't be such friendly characters, would they?
Well, on opposite sides of the old firm divide. Andrea Pirlo as the Italians try to pass Scotland to death. As Tommy said earlier, the technical advantage certainly goes to the Azzurri. I don't think even the most fervent Scotland supporter would deny that. And they do have the ability to keep the ball and for long periods. Vieri now, and he might fancy his chances. A little bit too straight to trouble Craig Gordon.
He's a little bit far out too. He's about 30 yards out when he takes the shot. He just fires it from here. Yeah, about 30, and the keeper had a good view of it. Keeps it down low. No problems for the keeper.
Good brisk start to the match.
Very open-ended football. Two teams out there giving it their all, and I mean, you got to give Scotland a lot of credit that they didn't decide that they were going to sit back there.
And that's Walter Smith's bench. Rob Douglas, the reserve goalkeeper. James McFadden is often the joker in the pack. Craig Beattie of Celtic called in for the first time. And for the Italians, Marco Materazzi, one of the obvious defensive replacements. And Alex Del Piero might well get a chance to make it 68 caps for the Azzurri. There was a thought yesterday amongst Italian journalists that Del Piero might get the nod ahead of Totti, but it hasn't worked out that way.
It's something that has been a lot of conjuncture about in Italy over the last number of games. You know, whether it's Del Piero, Totti, and a lot of people feel Totti don't deserve it.
It's Barry Ferguson's pass. He's trying to find Kwasi. And the referee taking exception to the comportment of Christian Daly that time. And Zambrotta, difficult for Hartley to pin down. But Paul Hartley went hearing back deep inside the Scottish half of the field. Tenacious competitor he is.
And did well. He turned it off Zambrotta because he knew Zambrotta was coming, charging fairly hard, even without the ball. Watch, when he loses the ball, he still keeps running, and he just turns the ball against him. Very, very bright play there by Hartley.
Hartley, the man who very nearly joined Celtic a few months ago. Made his international debut at the San Siro in the game against Italy. And Scotland were perhaps a bit fortunate to lose by 2-0. It's Walter Smith's first game in charge. And things have just started to look up for Scotland. It's impossible to go much further than that. Recent matches. 2-2 draw with Austria in their last game. That was a friendly in Graz.
Well, when you hear a Scots in, the things have started to look up. I mean, that is the understatement of the year, believe me.
11 minutes gone. It's Scotland 0, Italy 0. Here in Group 5. Away by Daly. And he is sitting in front of Weir and Webster, the two central defenders. Hartley again trying to put the wind up the Italian defence, but it was well read by Cannavaro.
Cannavaro and Nesta, two of the brightest talent when you come to defenders around the world. They read the game so well. They have got so much range and just so much technical ability to go with all of that. Makes them a very, very tough duo to beat.
Webster with the long ball this time for Scotland. And nodded down by Kenny Miller. Hasn't scored for Wolves in recent matches, but did set up a hat-trick for his teammate Carl Court the other night in the 3-1 victory over Queen's Park Rangers. Fletcher trying to be purposeful. It's an excellent ball for Kenny Miller. On his own, though, inside the Italian area. McNamara, a former Celtic man who is now a teammate of Kenny Miller at Wolves. And Fletcher, they looked a bit flummoxed at the back, the Italian defenders. It's Hartley with a cross, and it's Miller with a header, and it's Scotland in the lead inside 13 minutes. Park erupts. Kenny Miller celebrates his 4th international goal. It's Scotland 1, Italy 0.
Beautiful ball into the middle, and Miller just takes care of business. Beautiful. Rises to it and gives Peruzzi no chance. I mean, you got to give a lot of credit. Fletcher with a beautiful ball. It drifts it out to the outside. Hartley was the man who sent it across, but Fletcher was the man who set the whole thing up by setting Hartley free inside of the box, and then Hartley drives it across. And we talked about that brilliant central defenders, but hey, there was no sign of them there. Let me tell you. Can you believe it?
Ali McCoy's there, a man who knows a thing or two about scoring from close range himself. And it's a dream start for Scotland. They've had so little to say for themselves in this World Cup qualifying campaign. At 1-0 they lead against the mighty Italians. Kenny Miller's header following the cross by Paul Hartley. The Italians are not accustomed to chasing matches this early, are they? Barry Ferguson directing traffic there for the Scots. And Daly just lost possession of the ball. Totti. Pirlo. Italy looking for a quick riposte here. And looked as though the Scots had a decent case for a free kick, but Lubos Michel, the referee from Slovakia, opting for the laissez-faire approach. It bounces off Barry Ferguson. Crowd of just under 50,000 here on the south side of Glasgow. And well, that will go behind, I think, for the Italian corner. Vieri was appealing for it.
Well, if ever there was a time for Scotland now to get stuck in and just get the ball booted out of there, this is a case for it. And Vieri very dangerous in front of goal that time, but the ball nicely taken away from him. You give up the corner kick, but so what?
Yes, it came off the head of Andy Webster. The delivery from Francesco Totti is a harmless one.
This crowd sounds like an awful lot more than 50,000, let me tell you. Here's the ball across, and watch him rise for it in the middle. Beats off the defender, and a powerful downward header. Keeper had absolutely no chance on that one. Great read of the play. Miller picked his spot, and Peruzzi was left without it inertly.
As you were talking about the crowd, Tommy, and Rino Gattuso was saying just yesterday that in many respects there was perhaps more cause to fear the crowd than the Scottish team itself. In the old days, of course, used to be a very formidable venue to travel to. It's perhaps lost its Hampden roar a little bit since the refurbishing, the modernising of the stadium over recent years.
Well, I think a lot of these so-called elite teams, they really don't like to play against the big crowd. I mean, you have France doing the same against Ireland for Lansdowne Road, and the French coach is so afraid of the Irish crowd that he's brought in some of the rugby players to tell the players what the crowd is like. I mean, get out there and play football, forget about the crowd.
Barry Ferguson, and he was battling for it, battling with Gianluca Zambrotta.
Ferguson just getting stuck in here, and he does give Zambrotta a bit of a go, but hey, it's two players going for a ball. What do you expect them to do, stand back and let you have it?
Absolutely deafening here at Hampden, and here come the Scots again. It's Hartley's cross. No takers in the middle, but this is a very positive opening from Scotland, and they lead by a goal to nil.
They're running rings around that defence back there. The speed of the Scots has really caused a concern here for the Italians, and Hartley's done all kinds of stuff with the ball over there on that right-hand side.
A bit of a late developer, Paul Hartley. Former Hibs and St Johnstone man, but a real mainstay for Hearts these days. Now, Yakinta has made a bit of a quiet start to the game for Italy. Nothing there for the Italians, and it's Fletcher for Scotland. Now Miller on his own up front. There was a strong chance that Gary O'Connor would have played from the start had he been fit, but he was ruled out earlier on this week with a back injury. He'll miss the trip to Oslo on Wednesday as well. Italy have already lost a match in this World Cup qualifying campaign. That was to Slovenia. Their away form has been nothing really to write home about. Flipped on by Zaccardo. And McNamara did his job for Scotland.
I think you're going to see a lot more of McNamara sitting back there rather than coming forward. In the first 10-15 minutes he was coming forward, but now that Scotland got the goal, I think it's more positive for him to sit the back there and just clean it up.
Totti does enough to win the throw right beside the corner flag, and he'll let Zaccardo take it. Now the Scots have to pay attention at the back here. It's a bit clumsy, and Daly, well, he felt the full force of De Rossi's boot. Quasi's there. Oh, and almost a rugby tackle from Quasi after he'd carelessly lost the ball.
Yeah, and it was such a great move by Miller to come back and get it, and then Quasi goes and he screws the whole thing up.
David Weir watching Yakinta and Vieri like a hawk, and that could have gone anywhere.
Dangerous situation inside of the box here, and the header just got onto it. Jackie McNamara could have put this ball into his own net very, very easily. It looked like it was heading that way, but it just went wide of the post.
Now it's Totti with the corner for Italy, and a safe pair of hands there from Craig Gordon.
That's two very badly taken corner kicks by Totti. One, he drifted wide of the back post over the byline, and that one he just hit into the keeper's hands.
I saw a caption there indicating that Quasi had been shown the yellow card by the referee. I must say, if it happened very quickly from referee Lubos, Michael.
He must be the fastest writer in the world. He must have done it in shorthand, because I didn't see any sign of it.
Well, if it happened, it's a significant one for Scotland, because it would mean that Quasi's ruled out of the game against Norway on Wednesday. It'd be his second yellow card of the competition.
That would be bad news indeed for Scotland. Unless, of course, to win this one, and then, well, it mightn't be such bad news.
Long way to go here. And Barry Ferguson just loses out there in midfield. But the Scotland captain was able to recover swiftly. Hartley. And that's a clear free kick.
Looking.
Foul by Zambrotta. And there is the yellow card for the Italian left-back.
Well, if you judge what the referee did in this situation, Zambrotta here gets the yellow card, and the way the referee reacted, I don't think that he gave a yellow card previous to that.
Ferguson with a free kick. Fletcher was reaching for it. And he knocks it against Cannavaro. Corner to Scotland.
You know, I'm on record as saying that I think Fletcher is probably going to be one of the best players that Scotland has ever produced. And I think you're seeing signs of it out there today. He's just such a good young talent, this man. I think he has a very, very bright future. I'm very high on his chances there. Not just now, I've been saying that for 2 years, you know that.
No, you've been very consistent as regards Darren Fletcher. Weir's up there, Webster's up there, Hartley with a corner. Hartley, the architect of the only goal scored so far by Kenny Miller for Scotland. And that's Miller again. It wasn't cleared away very convincingly. Quasi. Barry Ferguson trying to do the creating here, and Peruzzi's there.
The line that I expected to look really tough and stout and strong, the Italian backline, does look anything but that. They look like you can penetrate them very, very easily. It looks like they're almost playing at half speed out there. Maybe they have read too much into what they can do themselves, but they're certainly not playing. Nesta and Cannavaro is not playing the type of football that you would expect they're able to play.
They've never won here on Scottish soil. 2 previous visits have produced a draw and a defeat, and of course that defeat came back in 1965, that famous match, certainly in Scottish football circles. John Gregg scored the only goal with a couple of minutes to go. It was also a World Cup qualifier. It comes off Jackie McNamara, his joust with Yakinta. Marcello Lippi there on the right. I always think that beneath the calm facade simmers an intense footballing personality.
I would imagine he has to be like that.
He's not one to get outwardly worked up about anything.
You just look at Vieri out there, and I mean, the man had dizzy spells during the week, and there was all kinds of question marks about him, but yet and all, he got the start today. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions asked of Lippi afterwards.
I can tell you that as we look at Walter Smith and Tommy Burns in conversation, Moldova leading Belarus at half-time in one of the other matches, and that's also a good result from the Scottish point of view, because Belarus are one of the teams in with a chance of finishing second in the section. The Slovenia-Norway game to be played later tonight, as I mentioned earlier, will also be very crucial. I'm sure the Scots are hoping for a draw in that game. Now, what can the Italians conjure up here through Totti? It's away by Fletcher. Alexander going over there to cover, and it's a goal kick. Zambrotta had made his way forward again. If you've just joined us here on ESPN, it's Scotland 1, Italy 0. The only goal of this fast-paced World Cup qualifier so far coming from Scotland's Kenny Miller. Daly. It's poked away by David Weir. Now Fletcher. The goal scorer Miller. Quasi. And Nesta veered out of his central defensive position. Jackie McNamara, whose 10-year association with Celtic ended during the summer. The move to the English Black Country to play for Wolves. Barry Ferguson, looked a bit casual and really had to foul in the end. He had to foul Totti, and that's a very silly yellow card for Barry Ferguson.
No, absolutely no need for it at all. Barry has let the ball run away from him a number of times here, and it's one of the things I've also been very consistent is Barry generally doesn't show his best form when playing with Scotland. I mean, if Scotland need a big performer in the middle of the field, they need Barry Ferguson, and you can't just give away stupid cards.
Oh, here's Paul Hartley again. They looked less than sure-footed at the back, the Italians once more, and it's another corner to Scotland.
Zambrotta has no idea how to cover Hartley over there. Hartley is beating him for speed, he's beating him for skill, and he's just getting away from him. Look at it, gets away from him again here. Zambrotta's having all kinds of problems as the left back.
Barry Ferguson.
Not a good ball again, Derek.
It's cleared by Yakinta. They chase back for Jackie McNamara.
I always get the feeling is that if Barry Ferguson gets too intensely involved, he makes foolish mistakes. And in trying to do that, in trying to take a little bit of the edge off his game, he's also very nonchalant. He looks, you know, very at times that he should be doing things a little bit more intensely, and he doesn't do it, and then it doesn't work out for him. Like that pass, that was a terrible pass, and all the players he had inside of the box.
Oh, Miller, and he wants it back here. He's going to get it back. And Quasi was the other player supporting Kenny Miller.
Kenny Miller showing fine range out there in terms of coming back out to get the ball and cause all kinds of problems for the defenders.
Scored against Austria and Graz after 3 minutes, and netted here against Italy after 13. And Pirlo was almost dispossessed by Fletcher that time. He just got away with it. Zaccardo. Comes off Christian Zaccardo. '30th cap for Barry Ferguson. Six o'clock on a Saturday evening here on the south side of Glasgow. And Scotland are leading Italy by 1-0. Zambrotta. Now Yakinta. Oh, that was good stuff. De Rossi's there. A pair of them trying to work the 1-2. Away by Ferguson. Pirlo. 17 minutes to go to half-time. And Italy in pursuit of an equaliser.
You really didn't think you'd be saying that now, did you?
Pirlo, that diagonal ball, he arrowed it into the area. And Hartley is putting in a wonderful shift here for Scotland.
On both ends of the field, coming back, doing a lot of good defending, a lot of good running, just getting in the passing lanes, make sure the ball doesn't get through there. It's really a very simple game when you play it like this, isn't it?
Totti with another Italian corner. And interesting move here. It's all the way back to Andrea Pirlo. And they were a bit slow to react, the Scotland defenders. Finally, Craig Gordon reacts. Well, the flag had gone up there just as that was developing. Relief for Scotland.
Let's see if he was off. In fact, offside.
Don't think he was.
No, he wasn't. Not at all. But the keeper got a fist to it anyhow, so it wouldn't have made much difference. But there was nobody offside on that play.
Well, of course, we tend to dismiss the era of Bertie Vogts, but Scotland did achieve a couple of memorable results under his stewardship. Think back to the 1-0 win over Holland in that playoff game ahead of Euro 2004. They held Germany to a 1-1 draw here, and that was a fighting performance. And Kwasi is the man down for the time being. Gattuso's gone over there to have a look at him.
Generally indicates that Gattuso did the damage. He's gone back over to inspect it. Let's see if we're correct on that one. Yeah, Gattuso coming in, he catches him there. No, it was actually Vieri coming back that caught him. Gattuso misses him. Or maybe Gattuso got him on the inside of the foot. Yeah, he did. Vieri pushed him out of the way, but Gattuso kicked him on the instep of the left foot. That's what the problem is.
I think even though it's fair to say the talent pool isn't a big one that Walter Smith has to choose from, and that the overall level of the players isn't perhaps what it once was, we in Scotland felt that the results ought not to, generally speaking, have been as bad as they were when Bertie Vogts was in charge.
Maybe they weren't as bad as they were. Maybe they weren't as bad as you made them out to be.
Totti's header. It's away by Webster. Now forward by Jackie McNamara, but aimlessly.
Imperative now for Scotland to get to half-time without giving up a score and not let the Italians back into the game. And just stand back there and belt it out of there. Scotland's still trying to play football with them. I'm not sure it's the best idea in the world.
And the crunching tackle by Nigel Kwasi. The referee takes a very dim view of that.
Just comes in and he kicks Totti. Makes contact with the ball, but makes a lot of contact with, I believe he got Totti first.
Pirlo. Oh, and that was very uncharacteristic. Ferguson was there to win it back for Scotland.
To be honest, we've seen so little of Pirlo today, not getting himself involved in the game at all.
Unusual lack of cohesion in the Italian side so far. That's a lot of football still to be played here at Hampden Park tonight. McNamara for Scotland. And out of play by Alessandro Nesta. Miller. He's manoeuvring his way towards the byline. It's gone out for an Italian throw near their own corner flag. And Zaccardo to take it. Nodded forward by Webster, and Kenny Miller nodded that one down towards Nigel Kwasi. The flag has gone up. Scotland 1, Italy 0. Italy, the long odds-on favourites, at the moment struggling to justify their status in the betting market. And the fruitless chase there for Yakinta. And Graham Alexander entrusted with the task of taking this Scotland throw. Alexander, who went the full 90 minutes for his club side Preston against Ipswich on Monday in the English Championship. Kwasi, another English Championship player, of course, on the books of Southampton. McNamara.
Lovely stuff.
It's tremendous fancy footwork from Jackie McNamara. Now Kenny Miller. And 3 Italian defenders around him. Plenty of persistence from Kenny Miller. It's his 22nd international appearance for the Scots. He's now scored 4 goals. And Webster's the man who's been penalised here.
Just grabbed the hold of him. Didn't want the Italians to break.
Zambrotta's always keen to go forward. Of course, used to be a midfielder. These days a defender for his club side, Juventus. And Lubos Mikel has given the decision in favour of the Italians over on the far side as Paul Hartley tried to intervene for Scotland. Now they're getting stuck in at every opportunity. It was Kwasi that time for the home side. Plenty of spirit and endeavour here from Scotland, who lead 1-0. And the challenge by Daniele De Rossi.
Booking.
The referee didn't hesitate. It's the second Italian booking of the match.
Very foolish. De Rossi just kicks the feet out from underneath Kwasi. The ball is long gone. I'm not sure what he was even thinking about. That's not a good move.
De Rossi of Roma, still only 22. Scored a couple of goals in this World Cup qualifying campaign so far.
Miller wants height on it.
And Barry Ferguson keeps it on the ground, giving it to Kwasi. McNamara. Christian Daly, the link man there. That defensive midfield position. That wasn't really what the Scots are hoping for, and now they're in danger of being carved open. Jacinta has made the dash into the Scottish penalty area. The optimistic appeal there for handball. Thanks to David Weir, who's marshalling his troops. And the free kick is conceded.
Couple of patches of bad play by Scotland, giving the ball away and then committing the foul in this situation here, because it didn't look like there was any danger. Totti is there, but Weir didn't, just put a bit of pressure on him, but the referee...
Well, Totti, I must say, went to ground very easily that time. And the Scots know all about Italian free kicks. They conceded 2 goals at the San Siro, both the free kick goals by Andrea Pirlo. And they must concentrate to the full here. It's Pirlo. And the bullet shot, somehow it stays in. It comes back to Pirlo. And right across the face of the goal. Well, the header was ballooned over, just too much height on it by Jacinta. And the Scots can breathe again.
Cannavaro misses the first attempt at it. How this ball didn't go out. Watch Cannavaro coming through your picture. He misses the attempt, and then Jacinto, it bounces off his head just on that back post. Cannavaro, you can see, knocked it across. A lot of danger there for Scotland. The defenders didn't react to that ball at all. There were 3 Italians who had a chance of playing the ball, and none of them could put it away.
Jacinta of Udinese made his debut for Italy in a match against Iceland. Friendly match at the end of March. Finished 0-0.
Well, it certainly raised a lot of eyebrows when Jacinto started in place of Gilardino today.
Gilardino not even on the bench for Italy. Now Kenny Miller takes on Cannavaro again. That's ball play by Miller. They've been very effective at just picking the right moment, Scotland. They'll try to pose problems for the Italian defence as action spills over to the other end. And it's nodded away by Andy Webster. And Vieri was positioned menacingly, and this time, well, the offside flag was up against Christian Vieri. It wouldn't have counted.
Scottish defence a little bit slow to react, and Vieri just barely offside. He's just on the backside of the player. The man above him almost played him on. And they can't afford to allow Vieri to be free like that, because he will burn you.
There's that professorial air about him, doesn't he, Marcello Lippi? His team trailing here by a goal to 0, but the last 3 or 4 minutes have been a bit more encouraging from an Italian point of view. Hartley for Scotland. Bounces around a bit like a pinball. Daly's high header. And Zambrotta straight back down the throat of Paul Hartley. And drilled in low and hard. Quasi's appealing that he was impeded inside the area. Let's have another look.
Well, he certainly looks like he had a good shot at it. Watch as he runs inside here. Watch him he gets tangled up with the player. Well, I suppose he did a lot of the pushing himself. He was coming in on the backside. It'd be very hard to give a free kick against the defender in that situation. The defender didn't even know he was coming. If anything, I probably would have given a free kick against Quasi.
No, I think that's fair comment.
Haven't I always fair?
Most of the time.
Okay. Most of the time's good enough.
Now, Webster was scrambling, as was Daly. And still, it's the Scots who are leading Italy by a goal to nil in this World Cup qualifying match being played at Hampden Park. Hope you're enjoying our coverage here on ESPN, wherever you're watching around the world. Nodded down by Barry Ferguson. Fletcher couldn't quite get on the end of it. Totti now. De Rossi, as it opens up again here for the Azzurri. The Scottish defenders have to funnel back in numbers. Totti. And away by Andy Webster. As cool as a cucumber he was. Miller. Hasn't been afraid to be a battering ram, Kenny Miller, and to be honest, it's not really, generally speaking, his game.
He's injured. He got a knock there. I think Cannavaro got a piece of him.
Zambrotta. Totti. Trying to wriggle away from Daly. Zambrotta getting the return feed there from Totti. And that's decisive goalkeeping by 22-year-old Craig Gordon. He's grown in stature since making his debut for Scotland 12 months ago against Slovenia.
That one needed to be. Zambrotta gets himself inside. Look at the four defenders square. Vieri's coming down through the middle. Jacinto is there as well, and the keeper, Gordon, just comes out and grabs it. Miller's still limping a bit. That would be very, very bad news for Scotland.
Safety first from the Scots. Zambrotta, now Pirlo. Pirlo, a player who's really only come to the fore in the last 3 years or so since moving to AC Milan. He's now an irreplaceable figure in the centre of midfield for club and country. Pirlo once again. Zambrotta with freedom to his left. Hartley's gone over there to cover. Zambrotta's deep cross. McNamara's header. Gattuso there. And a bit of danger here. Jacinta foiled again by the Scots. But they're living just a little bit dangerously at the moment. Occasionally hitting on the counter-attack, but most of the traffic has been directed towards Craig Gordon. And the whistle had gone as Kenny Miller tried to keep the attack going for the Scots. He was the only player really inside Italian territory. Offside flag had gone up.
Certainly seems whatever break of the ball has come from the officials, the Italians are getting it so far.
I think that's the feeling in amongst the crowd.
Well, it's the feeling of one of the announcers anyhow.
Now Fletcher, that loping stride of his. Of course, Lubos Mikel, the referee here, is the man who upset the Celtic contingent. Just thinking back to that UEFA Cup final in Seville in 2003 when he let Porto goalkeeper Vitor Bahia away with all sorts of theatrical antics.
They were upset with good cause that day.
Zambrotta. Oh, he's got the better of Hartley this time. So just slightly overhitting it. Scotland pinned back here. And I think, as you said earlier, Tommy, they'll be very happy to see half-time. And they hope with a 1-0 advantage. Zaccardo with the cross for Italy. And Vieri spinning and turning. Down he goes. The clearance by Webster.
Well, maybe Scotland got one back there. It looked like there was a little bit of contact inside of the box. A lot of appeals from the Italians. Watch this come inside. Vieri's there. He takes the ball down. Is he taken down? Yeah, he is. He was taken down.
Weir it was, in fact, who was involved for Scotland, and then a lusty clearance. But the appeal wasn't particularly stinging by Vieri. Here's Darren Fletcher. And he's still going, the Manchester United player. And his turn to take the ball inside the box.
I think his came from exhaustion. I think he just couldn't go any further, but he had made a couple of lovely moves with possession.
Final few seconds of this first half. But the Italians have an equaliser in their repertoire. Vieri. And Daly. Back in the Premiership, of course, playing for West Ham. And then Totti gives away the free kick. Totti, who of course was sent home from the Italian camp in disgrace at Euro 2004. And Fletcher is the latest player on the ground.
Here's where he gets knocked around a couple of times inside of the box, and he's gone down. There's a lot of contact here. I think he's already on the way down by the time that the contact is made. Yeah, he was on his way down. Gattuso caught him as he came across. Good no call by the referee.
And we're going to have 2 minutes of time added on for stoppages. A chance for everyone to catch their breath. And Tommy, I don't think Walter Smith in his wildest imagination could have expected this state of affairs approaching half-time.
I think there's two things involved here. The fact that they have taken the 1-0 lead and the fact that they have played so well. I mean, most of them have played very well, and it hasn't been a complete rearguard action. In fact, when they've gone to the back, I haven't been all that impressed with the amount of the way they have played, but you know, they have done the job, and Fletcher has done very well, and Miller has done very well. A few players need to step up a little bit. I think Barry Ferguson needs to step up. For the Italians, well, they got to get their midfield involved. De Rossi is certainly not the answer to anything. Pirlo's not playing anything out there. Gattuso's been under a bit of pressure, but the Italians haven't shown any imagination, or they haven't created very little. Anything that's happened has just been haphazard inside of the box. Look at that. You give the ball away like that.
It will now be 3 minutes all told, the stoppage time. 2 minutes was what was indicated to begin with, then the injury to Fletcher. And a rather disgruntled looking Francesco Totti.
He's another man who hasn't performed the way I'm sure Marcello Lippi would like to see him perform in this first half.
I talked earlier about Scotland's victory over Italy back in 1965. It's their only triumph against the Italians in 7 previous meetings, stretching over a 74-year period. But they're 1 goal to the good here, and there's the man who put them in front, Kenny Miller, who continues his scrap with the Italian defenders, in this case Nesta.
Nesta's lucky he doesn't get a card on that. I mean, he made sure that he followed through with his hand and got Miller across the face. But Miller has proven that he's up to the task today. He's playing very well. I personally thought Nesta would eat him up.
I don't think you were the only one either. Now Hartley has moved out to this left-hand side, and that's a clear foul. And another Scottish free kick. Pirlo was the transgressor that time.
You talked about Pirlo being irreplaceable in midfield. He's certainly been replaceable today, the way he's played.
Miller again. Nesta once more trying to pin him down. And somehow it stayed in play for Kenny Miller. Quasi. 2.5 minutes into stoppage time now at the end of the first half. Vieri trying to turn away from a couple of Scottish players. And will there be time for one last chance before we hear the shrill half-time whistle? Totti. He's hoping to create something here, and he did, in fact. It was right onto the boot of Christian Vieri. It took a slight deflection. It seemed to come off David Weir, and that's a corner to Italy.
Very, very crucial deflection here. Watch Weir put his boot up. Not sure the keeper would have known too much about it. Vieri's turning, he's hitting it, and Weir did very, very well.
Now, can the Scots survive this? Totti's corner. The outswinger it was. Vieri did his best, but the first 45 minutes plus stoppage time have come to an end, and we have the quite astonishing half-time scoreline here at a very passionate Hampden Park of Scotland 1, Italy 0. That headed goal by Kenny Miller, beautifully worked move. Fletcher was involved, the deep cross from Paul Hartley, and Italy, the Group 5 leaders, have it all to do. The Scots are in front. Scotland 1, Italy 0, the half-time score in this World Cup qualifying match from Group 5. I can tell you, by the way, that Moldova are leading Belarus by 2-0 in the other match in this section. We'll get to that in just a second. Let's have a look at the complete scoreboard, all the games that are underway, and some have already been completed. See there in Group 1, Andorra 0, Finland 0, but Finland as good as out of the running. Ukraine are very close to qualifying now, leading by 1-0 in Georgia, their match. Group 3 wins for Russia and Estonia. That Russian win keeps their hopes alive, but Portugal are strongly fancied to finish top of the section. It will likely be a battle between Russia and Slovakia for second place. Now, Group 4 is interesting. Switzerland 1, Israel 1. We're being told that's a full-time score now. I must say that my own information has that being deep in stoppage time, but 1-1 is what you see there on the caption. France against the Faroe Islands, of course, to come later. And in Group 6, a win for England, Joe Cole's goal away to Wales in Cardiff, and a rare win for Northern Ireland against Azerbaijan. But here on the south side of Glasgow, it's... Well, there's been a pronounced buoyancy about Scotland since Walter Smith took over, and renewed spirit within the camp. What a first half it was for the Scots here at Hampden. They lead Italy by 1-0. Tommy Smith. 2
minutes into this one, you mightn't have imagined what was going to happen. You certainly would be feeling that Italy were going to win, maybe. And this ball goes through, and look at that, coming way up on the far side. Zaccardo forces the keeper into a really good save. Zaccardo knocks it off his left foot. The man who's playing right full back gets in on the back post. Then in the 9th minute, more pressure here. Vieri's coming through, and there's a lot of pressure being put on, but Gordon gets down and covers it up very, very nicely. And then the change in what happened to the game. Fletcher with a beautiful ball. This ball is played around inside. Fletcher plays it outside again, and there's the header. Miller is the man who knocks the ball into the net. He rose up in front of the defenders. Hartley was the man who sent the ball across to him after getting the ball from Fletcher, and that's a great goal. Very well worked goal, very well taken goal, and there's no denying Miller. He's had a good first half here. Puts this one well away from the keeper. In the 37th minute, the ball bounces around a little bit. Cannavaro is the first man to miss it. Then Zabrato misses it coming down on the far side, and it's sent out just a situation. Yeah, Quinto was the man who should have probably put it away, but Scotland would need to be a little bit more alert in the back, or else they're going to have a lot of problems in the second half. This one, Cannavaro, Quinto, and there was a man coming in on the back of it as well.
So the first half facts and figures, will let you digest all of them. But, well, the main thing is that Scotland lead Italy here by 1-0, and meanwhile Moldova are leading 2-0 against Belarus. So if that were to hold up, it would certainly hamper the Belarus cause. Scotland must wait to see what happens tonight in the Slovenia-Norway match. Remember, Norway will be Scotland's next opponents. Is continuing with some of the other scores, and Sweden with a 3-0 win against Bulgaria. Sweden, of course, moving ever closer to a place in the World Cup finals. And Ljungberg, Mellberg and Ibrahimovic were the goal scorers. Kenny Miller's goal here. It's Scotland 1, Italy 0. And a warm welcome back to Hampden Park. It's Scotland leading Italy by 1-0. If you've just joined us here on ESPN. Fabulously taken goal it was by Kenny Miller. Heading home a Paul Hartley cross. As you can see, the Italian players are raring to go. They're out there on the park. And we wait now for Scotland with the Proclaimers in the background. The Scottish band, of course, from Auchtermuchty.
Could you spell that for us?
Would you like me to? A-U-C-H-T-E-R. Give up. No, M-U-C-H-T-Y at the end of it. The last syllable. While we have a moment, let's just remind you that we've got more World Cup qualifying coming up later on today. And that would be, of course, Portugal against Luxembourg. A game that most of you will be able to see. That's in Group 3. Joe Torreson and Janusz Mihalik will be your commentators for that game. That's Portugal against Luxembourg. Portugal, the Group 3 leaders. Luxembourg, the team right at the bottom of the section, coming up a little bit later. It'll have been very interesting to be an observer in the Italian dressing room during the half-time interval. One wonders what Marcello Lippi had to say. What I can tell you is he's made a substitution right at the start of the second half. Palermo's Fabio Grosso has come on. We'll just try to let you know in a second who has departed. So the 9th cap for Grosso. And at first glance, it doesn't appear as though any Scottish substitutions have been made. No great surprise there. Scotland 1, Italy 0. If it were to finish this way, then it would have the effect of changing the complexion of Group 5. There's no doubt about that. And Scotland will be right back in business. 4 points they're looking for from the next 2 games, including this one. They play Norway in the next match on Wednesday in Oslo. And it's Grosso for Zaccardo, so it's one Palermo man for another. Let's get the reaction of Tommy Smith.
Didn't think that Zaccardo did anything especially wrong, but didn't do anything really brilliant either. He would have been a hero had he put that ball in the back of the net from the free kick. One keeps wondering how he got over there, but I think he just didn't help anything in terms of setting up passes.
That's offside as Pirlo tried to steer it forward towards Christian Vieri.
Christian Vieri loves to live on that line, and you can see he's leaning. He's certainly offside.
Hartley for Scotland. Only his 3rd international appearance. 2 of them have been against Italy. I'm sure 1 or 2 of you watching, especially Italian fans, are wondering about Alberto Gilardino. We told you earlier that he picked up an injury. It was a bit of a mystery injury. But, the word seems to be that it was a hamstring strain. So that's why he wasn't able to take part. That's why Quinta was in there in his place. And remains in there for Italy. Quinta and Vieri together, trying to put pressure on the Scottish central defenders, Weir and Webster. And Zambrotta, by the look of things, has gone over to that right-hand side now, with Grosso operating on the left, as he frequently does for his club side, Palermo.
Zambrotta had a tough time because Hartley gave him a lot of trouble.
And Fletcher thought that was a bit of a strange decision by Lubos Michel, the referee. You be the judge. Fletcher was penalised.
I'm not sure why he was penalised.
Pirlo for Italy. The Azzurri, a team in search of answers here. Grosso, the substitute. And Scotland continue to bar the door. He's been very lively, hasn't he, Kenny Miller? Showing the twinkling toes of a dancer that time.
6 defenders back with him, and he still held his own.
Oh, he went crashing back into the challenge, and he's been booked by Lubos Michel. Well, Kenny Miller was trying to race away from the Italian defenders. Then this.
Can't have too many complaints on that, but he really tried very hard. You can see that Scotland have taken on a slightly different look here now, Derek. They're trying to bar the door at the back. They're certainly putting up a blue line across that 18-yard box. They're not coming out as quick. They're not getting through to midfield as quick in support. I'm not sure, maybe that's just because it's the first couple of minutes they're pinned back, but I would expect them to do that. I was a little bit surprised that they didn't try to pull down the shutters in the first half.
You could imagine, couldn't you, that there might be a role for James McFadden before this match is over. A fresh pair of legs to run at the Italian defenders. McFadden, of course, who scored that memorable goal to defeat Holland in the playoff before Euro 2004 here at Hampden. And it's as you were for the Scots, as Craig Gordon, cricket style, bowls it out. McNamara. Miller had gone all the way back there to receive it. It's Nesta and Cannavaro.
Nicely done.
Fletcher's managed to win it back. This is Alexander for Scotland. Well, they stood very tall in the first half, the Scots, and they asked several questions of the Italian rearguard. Just get the feeling that they're being a little bit more cautious at the start of the second half.
Yeah, they certainly decided to pack it in a little bit more at the back, and who can blame them? Sitting on a 1-0 lead into the second half.
Oh, Alexander, it was a splendid ball.
And like the fact that Miller has been fit to cause problems on his own is all the more reason for them to sit back a little bit and let him do the donkey work.
Well, the tendency towards Italian caution away from home has to be forgotten now. They're trailing by a goal to nil. It's a very important World Cup qualifier, and they shot from distance, Francesco Totti, but it was always wide of the target.
Wide open again, that has to be a concern. Look at how wide open he is. The shot wasn't a good one, but nevertheless he was in a position. He was, I mean, they were trying to close him down. Ferguson trying to come back to close him down. But if you let Christian Vieri run through like that, he's going to eventually beat you.
Spotted forward by Pirlo. Gattuso. Nesta. Gattuso trying to take the game to Scotland. Barry Ferguson. And the chopping challenge by Francesco Totti. And the referee, well, he has been consistent. He's been fairly yellow card happy.
Well, Totti was lucky in the first half that he didn't get booked as well, because he had a very dangerous looking challenge. He would have been in real trouble there.
He's not one for giving players a word of warning first, Lubos Mikel, it seems. He's reached for his pocket on a few occasions, and he's not been lenient in the slightest. Now 6 minutes into the second half. Scotland still leading Italy by 1-0 in this World Cup qualifying pressure cooker. Barry Ferguson sees the decision go against him.
But even all of these free kicks help Scotland along. They don't allow the Italians to get into a flowing movement.
And Fletcher failed to win it back. This is De Rossi. Pirlo. The Italians trying to keep the composure, but Gordon came hurtling off his line, and just in front of him there, see one of the Italian players was moving a little bit aggressively. You'll see this again here. Actually, there was some sort of apparent contact just inside the box. Zambrotta was the man who was racing towards Craig Gordon. Miller for the Scots. Kenny Miller, the hammer of the Italians, albeit still a long way to go. And Hartley drifted into an offside position.
Well, once again, Scotland doing a good job of controlling the ball over on the far side, and well, Hartley was clearly offside, but they did do a nice job of keeping possession.
Bit more shape about the Italians now.
But Scotland is letting them play a little bit more in midfield. They're not putting the pressure on them as quickly in midfield.
Now here's another yellow card. It's for Christian Daly, and that will rule him out of the match against Norway on Wednesday. He's not standing for any nonsense, this referee.
Yeah, but that's not a yellow card. That's not a yellow card. This referee's card happy.
Remember that Daly also was harshly booked when Scotland played Holland. We were talking about that game, a match a couple of years ago, and he missed the subsequent return, which Scotland went on to lose by 6-0. So Scottish supporters must hope that's not an omen. Now Pirlo with it. Nicely flighted ball. It's Miller who gets his head to the ball. Back in by Andrea Pirlo. Hartley's there. It was Grosso who tried to drive it back in. All hands on deck. It came off Graham Alexander. Pirlo's corner. The Italians have started off the second half with purpose. Scotland with so many bodies back there, but now it's Miller. And Daly. And well, he is the victim of the scything challenge, but play on, says the referee, and it's going to be another corner to Italy. And Scotland are struggling to hang on to the ball. They're struggling to retain it inside Italian territory. It's all Italy just at the minute.
Giving the ball up, and you can't afford to give the ball up in these situations. Even if you just give it the big boot, put it down to the defenders.
Totti, Fletcher's header, and the clearance completed by Kenny Miller.
That's what you need, something like that. Just get the ball out of there and make them work for it again to set it up.
Grosso sailed up and under, and Alexander just shepherds it back to Craig Gordon.
Good understanding there between the defender and the goalkeeper as the ball is just flicked through and Gordon comes out onto it. Vieri's in the neighbourhood, making sure that there's nothing easy for the keeper.
What's going through the mind of Marcello Lippi? Listening to the Italians before the match, you got the feeling that it had never entered their head that they would lose this game.
Sometimes that's a very bad mindset to have as well, especially when you're going up against a team like Scotland, who you know are going to play their heart out in front of a crowd like this at Hampden.
Fabio Cannavaro, the Italian captain, was talking about Italy being well placed to reach the World Cup final itself. But before they can even think about Germany, they've got to go through these testing qualifying matches. This was always going to be a tester for Italy. Scotland imbued by the spirit of improvement, and Fletcher did well again. Miller. Now it's opening up for the Scots out there on the left. Barry Ferguson, and the tussle was viewed from just a few yards away by referee Lubos Michel.
Well, it's something we've noticed about Barry over the years. He does like to be a referee as well as being a player, and you can't do that. Scotland's got to play. They've got to play the ball. They can't be waiting for the whistle.
And they're a bit slow in getting bodies back that time, Scotland, and well, that was a very important little nudge, if you like, back to Craig Gordon, because Vieri was in a menacing position again.
Took the ball out of Vieri's path. I mean, it was nicely played down the field. The Italians had taken the ball away from Barry Ferguson and set out on their own.
Now Camoranesi, the Juventus wide midfielder, is preparing to come on. Perhaps give the Italians an extra dimension. It was Gattuso and Ferguson, Tommy, the two former Rangers teammates.
Ferguson was definitely fouled. Gattuso pulls him. I mean, if you're going to give free kicks like he's been given all along, you have to give that one to Ferguson. But nevertheless, Ferguson's got to play to the whistle. You can't be standing around waiting to get the call, and when it doesn't come, you can't just stop there.
Barry Ferguson actually made his Rangers debut as a substitute for, you've guessed it, Rino Gattuso, yeah. And well, Scotland still battling. Kwasi trying to defend from the front. It'd be a remarkable result if Scotland could pull this off. Keep in mind at the start, I think most of us Scots felt that a draw would be an excellent result. 4 points from the two games against Italy and Norway, the target that was set for Scotland by Walter Smith. Now Vieri for the Italians. Bounces around again somewhat awkwardly. Pirlo, real craftsman he is, but fails to open up the Scottish defence.
Thought he was going to chip the keeper from there.
Gordon did well to find Hartley on this near side. Now Alexander and the big boot, deciding not to take any chances. Precious little football being played by Scotland at the moment inside the Italian half. In contrast to what we saw in the first half, Italy certainly had more of the ball. But Scotland were effective when they got into positions deep inside the Italian half of the field. Vieri's header combining with Totti. And Yakinta and Vieri and Gordon. But the whistle's gone. To the relief of the Scotland supporters, offside flag was raised just as that was in progress for the Italians.
You could see some of the Scottish supporters. There's no offside there. And the second, yeah, but he had the flag up way too early. He had the flag up before anybody get into the offside position.
This is quite a bold substitution by Marcello Lippi, certainly by Italian standards. De Rossi, who's more of a holding style player in the midfield, has taken off in order that the wide man, Mauro Camoranesi, can come on. Your reaction, Tommy?
De Rossi didn't play very well. I didn't think I couldn't see him being the answer to any of the problems. Camoranesi coming in now will give them a little bit of a push forward. I mean, they got Pirlo sitting in front of the back four. They didn't need De Rossi there as well.
I'm sure that's what they're thinking, that Scotland aren't presenting much of a threat at the minute. So the extra player up there can help now. Vieri shielded it superbly. Grosso, and Gordon deals with the spinning ball. He's been a busy goalkeeper at the start of the second half, but he's passed every test with flying colours.
Grosso's done a good job coming through and getting the ball across into the middle. Of course, Zambrotta did a good job most of the time in that respect. The problems that Zambrotta had was that he couldn't contain Hartley.
Now Cannavaro is on his own there, trying to defend against Kenny Miller. And still it's Miller. He was the lone front runner for the Scots. Nesta just pokes it away. And Miller's been a constant pest throughout this match, as far as the Italians are concerned. Now Totti did well. Here's Camoranesi. First piece of activity for the substitute. And Camoranesi trying to split open the Scottish defence. Alexander was in some trouble that time. And a corner it is to Italy. And Totti wants to take it quickly and does. Daly and Weir together. But they can't seem to repel the Italians for long. Totti once again. Staunch rearguard action from Scotland.
Well, it's a problem. It's becoming a problem just scooping the ball out in the midfield, because Miller's the only one out there that's liable to get a hold of it, and the defence are not coming out quickly enough in support of Miller. So as a result of that, Italy putting all kinds of pressure here.
And they might have another opportunity, but the ball had gone over the byline despite the best efforts of Gianluca Zambrotta.
Here's the ball down. Here's the one Miller went for. A little bit of a push, probably got away with a foul there. The ball didn't fall very kindly for him, and it allowed Nesta to get back and help cover him up. But Miller, he's pushing his way around. Look at the way he takes it away from Nesta the second time. And good moves.
This is come of age in this match, Kenny Miller.
Best game I've ever seen him play.
Up he goes again, up there for the head challenge. Ferguson now, as the Italians hesitated just for a second. Quasi. Nigel Quasi, who qualifies for Scotland by virtue of a Scottish grandmother. Quasi English-born. Camoranesi. It's nodded down by Alexander. Weir is the linchpin of the Scotland defence. Now Hartley. He knocks it forward. And Miller backing in again there. Fletcher's arriving.
Oh, Peruzzi had hesitated.
And Nesta only just succeeded in keeping that in play. It's a goal kick at the end of it.
Well, Nesta doesn't seem to be in such good shape, does he?
Just gasping for air there after making sure it didn't go over for the corner.
He came very close to allowing it out for the corner, but Peruzzi had hesitated on his line and almost caused problems at the back for the Italians.
Paul Hartley for Scotland. And oh, Alexander, what a blunder that was. And Totti trying to make Scotland pay. Well, you don't expect that at this level from Christian Vieri. You simply don't expect sitters to be missed, and this wound was self-inflicted.
Oh, a terrible, terrible ball played inside, and he made a terrible problem for himself. Alexander did. Totti fed it across onto the back post. There wasn't a whole lot more he could do. Maybe he could have gone another yard or two, but he's felt the defender coming down his throat, and Christian Vieri had a chance to put that ball in the back of the net and tie this one up. That should have been a goal. Christian Vieri's in one-on-one with the keeper, and his touch is over the top. Not a good touch by Christian Vieri.
I suppose he was reaching for it just a bit, but Vieri, of course, would expect to put that away. And, well, Scotland living awfully dangerously now. They've been on the back foot virtually for the entire second half, but Quasi now trying to give them a bit of energy. And Pirlo Something to hem him in beside the touchline. Miller's offside.
I think Scotland's going to bring in a reinforcement here. Neil McCann, a man who can dribble with the ball, a man who can hold the ball and probably put a lot of pressure on you.
This was what happened. Miller was offside. Nesta wanted the ball back.
And he pulled the player down. Look at... Well, he didn't actually pull him down, but he pulled him around. Watch him get a Griffin by the throat. You can't do that. You can't make contact with the player anywhere, even if he's not playing the ball. That's just foolish by Nesta. You're setting yourself up for a big problem.
As you mentioned, Neil McCann, Tommy, he is preparing to come on, and of course McCann has not tasted any first-team football with Southampton this season. It's been a problem for him, actually, stretching back over months now. But he will give Scotland a wide option if he does come on, and it does appear he's going to come on. Grosso for Italy. Pressing and pressing as Gordon gets there eventually.
It'll be the end of the day for Kwasi. He's had a few knocks. In fact, I think he's still suffering a little bit. Yeah, he is. He's in dire straits.
Still moving a bit gingerly, Nigel Kwasi. And Neil McCann is at the ready, the former Rangers player.
Substitution for Scotland.
And it's going to be one Southampton player for another. That's the end for Kwasi, and we've seen in this match just how important he is to the Scotland side. It's the first time Walter Smith has been able to field his preferred midfield trio of Kwasi, Ferguson and Fletcher. But a different dimension offered now in the form of Neil McCann.
Neil McCann will run at you where Kwasi was trying to hold the ball, trying to move the ball around and trying to set players up. Neil McCann will do the setup himself. He's got a lot of speed, maybe not as much speed as he used to have, but with the ball at his feet he can certainly move and he can put a lot of pressure on defenders.
And Walter Smith using Neil McCann for the first time since he took over as Scotland boss.
Be interesting to see will the Italians give the ball back here. Yeah, they do. Nicely done.
Christian Vieri, who of course you had a long conversation with just a few weeks ago.
Very nice fellow, I must say, off the field. Real gentleman and really proud of his football, proud of his football ability, and very happy with where he is in life now, going to AC Milan.
No doubt being watched by quite a few of you in Australia. Of course, Christian Vieri spent a few of his formative years down under. His brother Max is an Australian international.
Yeah, he said it was funny. He said Max always wanted to play with Australia, Christian always wanted to play with Italy, and the two of them got their wishes.
Cameronese now, a man with a ponytail. Zambrotta, and it's Webster. Just got a boot to that one for Scotland. Now McCann having come on. It's the long ball for Miller to go after. What a revelation he's been in this match, Kenny Miller. And he's trying to skin Nesta, one of the best defenders in the world. And after all that, Scotland, thanks to the sheer doggedness of Kenny Miller, have won a free kick.
He should have got the free kick earlier because Nesta does catch a Griffin by the shoulder. He turns Nesta inside out here, and Nesta is having huge problems with Miller. He's not the type of player that Nesta's used to coming up with, a big man who's running at him and trying to get around him, and Nesta's having all kinds of problems trying to cover him, but Miller's had an incredible game for Scotland.
The talented army still playing their part here. 22 minutes remaining. Scotland 1, Italy 0. Hartley with a free kick for Scotland. Daly had made himself available there. He'd gone forward at the set piece. Now McNamara, and out of play. And Scotland now will likely have to face the grim reality of defending in depth again. That's what it's come down to in the second half. Italy doing most of the pressing, Scotland doing all the repelling. It comes off Andy Webster.
Certainly not poetry in motion in the second half for Scotland, but the Scottish fans don't care. They have a big one up on the board.
And Luca Toni, the big Fiorentina striker, is going to be introduced here by Marcello Lippi. Now Fletcher's trying to defend as the shot comes in, but it was always going wide off the boot of Rino Gattuso.
It'll be the end of the day for Jacinto, I'd imagine. This ball driven across, one more dangerous situation. Not a very good shot.
Yes, I think that's right, Tommy. That's probably what will happen. It'll be Tony The big Fiorentina man coming on for Iaquinta. Tony was on target in his Serie A debut for Fiorentina against Sampdoria last week. Here's Hartley. He's tearing forward here for Scotland. And it was too strong for Kenny Miller, the only man who had a realistic chance of getting on the end of it. Now Ferguson has faded out of the game in the second half. He's still trying to lead by example. Scotland look to manufacture a result against one of the best teams in the world. The FIFA World Rankings might show Italy at number 13, but I think most of us would agree that that does them a bit of an injustice.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. I mean, there's no way. I would like to see the team, the 12 teams that are in front of them, play them.
Darren Fletcher for Scotland, ranked 86th in the world. Cannavaro was almost falling on it. And Fletcher is incandescent with rage.
Oh, he said something that the referee didn't like. Is he going to get a card?
No, it appears not. And we're going to see a substitution. It is the one that we anticipated. Iaquinta makes way for Luca Toni. He'll win his 11th cap. He scored twice at international level.
Fresh legs, big man coming in, another threat now to Scotland at the back. They've gotten off pretty easy so far.
The cry that rings around Hampden Park at the moment. Scotland, Scotland, you'd walk a million miles for one of your goals. How precious would a second Scotland goal be, but it's defending that really is the priority at the moment. They've allowed the Italians, the technically superior Italians, to take the game to them in the second half. But no joy for the Azzurri so far. They've got just over 18 minutes in which to rectify the situation. Pirlo. So that's a high-hanging ball, and McNamara just got a touch onto it.
Jackie's done everything that's been asked of him today. It hasn't been pretty, it hasn't been very technically good, but he's done the job over there as the left full-back.
And Camoranesi will take it this time. Mauro Camoranesi, the substitute. Vieri, one of the big targets in the centre there. Misses out Cannavaro. And Scotland might just get the break of the ball here. Kenny Miller. He's put in so much running here. So much endeavour. Pirlo for Italy. And nodded on by Tony, the substitute. Gordon's there.
He was the only one that knew what Tony was going to do with the ball. Gordon, quickest to react to it, because the Italian strikers, Vieri didn't know where it was going to go, and Totti was very, very slow to react.
Scotland seemingly in a parlous state in Group 5 before a ball was kicked in anger tonight. But 1-0 they lead against the Italians. Headed away by Weir, and he took a knock there just after he'd got rid of the ball. And now what's the referee going to do? Lubos Michel was right on the spot. He ought to have had a very good view of that. A big cry from the Scotland supporters. Totti just makes sure that Weir's okay, and then moves gingerly away from the scene of the crime. Totti's been booked already, of course.
They're having a discussion as to why there wasn't more, and Totti has his hand up into the face of the player. Look at there, he catches him just under the chin. I'm not sure that it was intentional, but I'm not sure that it wasn't intentional either. It could be either way, and Totti, I can think, with a lot of other referees, would have taken a second yellow card there and would be gone. I
seem to remember, actually, you and I covered a Roma game in the Champions League a few seasons ago, and early in the match, Totti did something like that and was actually sent off.
Yeah, he has a habit of doing that. He has a habit of putting his hands very high into the face of you when you go for him.
Craig Beattie is poised to come on for Scotland. That might mean the end for Kenny Miller, but Italy still now are controlling the ball and are taking the game to the Scots, but no reward for them. And Scotland hitting on the counter-attack whenever they can. Counter-attacks have been few and far between, and Fletcher might just very nearly got at the end of that. Oh, goodness me.
That is not what Marcello Lippi would like to see happening. I mean, that was almost a gift, like Scotland give Italy a gift on the opposite end about 20 minutes ago. Looked like another one was on the offering there. Camoranesi's made a difference is coming on, Derek.
Yes, and here is Mauro Camoranesi. And Totti wanted it. And it comes off Totti. And it's bounced favourably for Grosso. It's another Italian corner. Coming off Graham Alexander that time.
I'm a little surprised he's watched Totti for this amount of time. Del Piero mustn't be feeling so good if watching this.
Well, Italy have made their 3 substitutions already. Camoranesi's corner for Italy, and Gordon, the wonderful save, but it's gone into the back of the net, and Italy have finally been rewarded. The goal scorer there submerged by his teammates. I think it was Fabio Grosso, the substitute. And joy for the 400 or so Italian supporters who've made the journey here to Glasgow. It's one apiece.
Brilliant save, but a brilliant goal. Maybe takes a little bit of deflection on the way in. I mean, Gordon makes an absolutely incredible save with it. And this ball does go in off Barry Ferguson, it looks like. Fletcher missed it, he got the head onto it. Comes off the keeper. Here's the shot coming in, watch. Goes off the toe of the boot.
Jackie McNamara's boot, I think, yeah.
Jackie McNamara's boot, watch. He just stretches to it. It probably was on its way into the net anyhow, so it wouldn't have made much difference. But Gordon came up with an absolutely incredible save. And now Scotland will be lucky to get out of here with a draw.
Well, now Kenny Miller will be replaced by Craig Beattie. The Celtic man making his Scotland debut. Scored twice for the under-21s in a 3-1 win against Austria just a couple of weeks ago. Scored 3 goals for his club this season. It's Scotland 1, Italy 1. And really, on the balance of play, you felt that the equaliser had to come.
Had to come. The question is, will a winner come? The Scots have worked very, very hard. There's got to be a few of them really sucking for air out there.
Camoranesi, as you said, Tommy, has made a positive difference. Tony's on there to help the attack, and Gordon, well, he's acquitted himself superbly, fielding that Vieri shot. We've got 13 minutes left here at Hampden, and the sting has very definitely been taken out of this Glasgow crowd.
Goal will do that, but there's a lot to play for yet.
Well, let's see if Craig Beattie can give Scotland a fresh injection of pace and perhaps pose new problems for the Italian defence, albeit Scotland really haven't crossed the halfway line on too many occasions in this second half.
Miller was brilliant. Miller's stint today was absolutely brilliant.
Of course, that's the other way to look at this, Tommy, and Marcello Lippi might well be thinking this way too. The Italian mentality over the years has often been okay, you level the match late in the game and you say 1-1, that's fine, that suits us down to the ground. Yeah,
and it does suit them down to the ground. They're sitting on top of the table. Another point brings them closer to going to the World Cup finals. You know, they're sitting, what is it, 13 they had coming in. They had 14 now if they get a draw out of this one. And they're in pretty good shape, because even if Norway or Slovenia win, they'll still only be on 12. Italy will be still two clear at the top of the table, because Norway and Slovenia have 9 coming into today's game.
Belarus have already lost in this section, going down 2-0 to Moldova. Now it comes to Alexander for Scotland. Hartley. Zambrotta. Gattuso. A lot of very tired Scottish legs out there. Vieri. Oh, lovely ball, but just offside. Grosso, the goal scorer.
Well, that's what you can see that Lippi wanted to do. He took Camoranesi on, and
not sure if he was offside, was he?
Not sure he was. He was probably, his head was in front of him. Yeah,
just.
But Camoranesi realised that Scotland were sitting back a little bit more on the second half, and that you know, we had a holding midfielder out there, De Rossi, who really wasn't putting any pressure on. The thing was to bring on somebody who would put pressure on. He brings on Camoranesi to run at the Scottish defenders and cause them all kinds of problems, and that's exactly what has happened.
Oh, it was an excellent substitution by Marcello Lippi. Craig Beattie just being shoved out of the way there by Gattuso. Grosso now for Italy. with 11 minutes to go, and you just sense that the urgency isn't there as much for the Italians now. If they win the game now, I'm sure they'll feel it's a nice bonus, but making sure they didn't lose was the priority.
Job done at the moment.
They've never won here on Scottish soil, remember, 2 previous visits. 1 defeat and 1 draw. That draw coming at Ibrox back in 1992. A qualifier for the 94 World Cup finals. And Tony's in there. More of a tenacious defending from Scotland. That was Alexander that time. Zambrotta. And apparently it stayed in play. And Alexander finally lets it run out of play.
But I think your point is well taken, the way the Italians are playing now. They have put a lot of players back into their own end of the field. They're going to make sure they're not going to get caught on a counter-attack, and as you said, if they do get a victory here, they get it. But if they don't, they got a draw, and that's what they came here looking for.
Alexander's tackle was of an illegal nature. Well, disconsolate looking Walter Smith. Scotland have given so much to the game. Totti, and again all the big players were up inside the area, including Tony, the substitute. That's Andy Webster who's down.
Tony got him. Tony's a big lad in there. He can throw those big wingspans around. This time it was an accidental head. He caught him with the head just as he tried to head the ball. He went through and he caught Alexander with the head as well.
Scotland, remember, will be without Christian Daly for the match against Norway on Wednesday, but they will be able to welcome back Stephen Presley, suspended for this game. I think realistically it wasn't at the start of this match even about qualifying for the World Cup finals. That would be a very nice bonus from the Scottish point of view, even getting into a playoff. But it's more just about trying to progress with the future in mind, because the last 3 or 4 seasons have been barren years for the Scottish national team, and the only way is up, and we've seen a few steps taken in a forward direction this evening.
Yes, and Scotland have a few good young players now who, if they can build on, give them more experience, this could turn out to be a very formidable team, believe me.
Andrea Pirlo still controlling everything from his deep-lying midfield position. Fletcher, and well, free kick's been given to Italy now. Fletcher again is furious, and it's been taken desperately quickly, and well, the referee is calling it back now, is he?
Saying it was taken too quickly. Fletcher here, along with Gattuso, comes in over him. It's a very handy free kick, let me put it that way, late in a game like this in such a dangerous position.
And Scotland know all about the threat of Andrea Pirlo. Yeah, 2 beautifully taken free kicks by Pirlo, with a difference when the 2 countries met at the San Siro. Craig Gordon was saying just yesterday, there's not much you can do about Pirlo except hope for the best, get the wall right, and hope he misses one sooner or later. Craig Gordon's words. Well, there's no mystery. It's going to be the AC Milan midfielder. It's Andrea Pirlo for Italy. Just a whisker wide.
Doesn't miss by much, but it misses by enough for Scottish fans, let me tell you. For a moment it looked like it was trouble. It just curves in, doesn't curve enough for him. Keeper Gordon, I'm sure, would tell you he had it covered. Although he's a very honest young fella.
And I think he's acquitted himself rather well this evening. There's been plenty for him to do.
He was unfortunate with the goal too, because he had made such a brilliant stop. You know, 9 times out of 10 there's a defender over there that'll clear the ball away. This time there wasn't, and the ball was just smacked back into the back of the net.
Oh, they look nonchalant that time, the Italians. It's Camoranesi. Tony now.
It's amazing. There's a different pace to the Italian game now, and it's more effective.
Grosso and Barry Ferguson's header. It's behind for a corner. I'll tell you what, at the moment the Scots would snatch your hand off if you could offer them, if you had the power to offer them a 1-1 draw.
I think you're seeing the difference now in the technical ability of the Italians coming through. They're just doing it so easy.
Pirlo. And it's, well, the shot lined up by Gattuso. And can they scramble it home? Well, the answer is they can't. Gordon's there to field it.
Well, it was very, very dangerous. Vieri's inside. He's the man who does get a poke at it. But a little bit blocked down. Just a touch on it was enough to keep it so the keeper could cover it up.
At least dummy. A rare journey into the Italian half of the Scots. And right across the face of the goal by Neil McCann on the volley. Peruzzi's there. We haven't had to call out his name terribly often. More drive from Gattuso. You can always count on that. Pirlo. 5 minutes left. Can Italy snatch a winner? Move ever closer to a place in Germany. Totti. Camoranesi. And a sprawling Craig Gordon. It's a good thing he was able to catch that cleanly, because Tony was waiting to pounce.
It looked like he wasn't going to be fit to catch it. It looked like it was going to come off the tips of his fingers, but he did very well. And as you said, Tony was right down on the doorstep.
And it was cumbersome by Craig Beattie. And the referee is reaching for his pocket again. He didn't like the elbow there by the Celtic youngster. And it's his first international appearance and his first booking.
Cannavaro is the man here. Well, you know, he didn't give a card to Nesta earlier when Nesta put his hand up. He didn't give a card to Totti when Totti used his hand in the same way. So, I mean, why do you give a card to Beattie in that situation? I mean, isn't it exactly similar to what Totti did?
As I said earlier on, he's not necessarily the most popular referee here in Scotland, Lubos Mikel. And he does have a history with Scottish football, with Celtic in particular. Knocked away by Alexander. Now Fletcher. They're hanging by a thread here, Scotland, but perhaps they'll put the Italian defenders to work. Nesta at times has looked insecure, and here's Hartley. It just kicked it too far forward for his own good. These Scottish soldiers are a bit ramshackle in nature. Beattie buzzing away at the Italian defence when he has the chance.
A lot of lads out there to sleep well tonight. They're tired, let me tell you.
An important game to come on Wednesday against Norway in Oslo. McNamara that time felt Camoranesi had taken a dive. The referee disagreed. Pirlo still trying to do the prompting. Now Daly did well. Fletcher. Alexander wanted it to his right. Instead he used Hartley. Barry Ferguson. A bit of adventure from Daly over on that far side of the field. He used to play as a left back. Fletcher. And it's Barry Ferguson with a pot shot. I suppose it was worth the effort, because attempts at goal have been few and far between from Scotland in the second half.
It was good possession, but they had 10, 12, 14 touches on the ball. Barry probably could have come up with a better shot, but the idea was good, and they worked the ball up the field well. Took the pressure off the defenders for a while.
Actually just over 50,000 here at Hampden. 50,185.
It was a handball.
And the decision has gone against a disappointed Christian Vieri. Well, if it does finish in a draw, Tommy, does it get Scotland back in the frame as potential second-place finishers of the group?
Yeah, it's still a very, very long uphill battle for them. The key will be the Wednesday game. If they can get 3 points against Norway, then they're in reasonably good shape. They still have a lot of work to do, but
I think the other key might be the match in Slovenia tonight. They have to hope that finishes in a draw.
Yeah, if there's a clear winner of that tonight, that's a huge problem for them.
Because otherwise, Scotland's destiny would actually be in their own hands, because they have to play Norway and they have to play Slovenia, both away from home, unfortunately, and then their other game is, of course, at home to Belarus. Now, Italy looking for the winner here. Pirlo and Gordon. And Gordon has earned his corn in goal for Scotland this evening.
That's what I was going to say to you. They need to get a point out of here before they start looking at anything. This last couple of minutes is going to be key here. The added time, Italy still have plenty of time to snatch a winner.
Probably looking at least 3 minutes of added time, perhaps 4. In fact, we can confirm it is 4 minutes. Now Totti. Cameronese. And now Scotland defending desperately. It was Webster and McCann. He's given it straight to Cameronese. A comedy of errors inside the penalty area. It's still in play, believe it or not. It remains in play. Totti. Cameronese won't get there. Goal kick to Scotland. Moving towards the 90-minute mark we are now. And I think some credit is due to Walter Smith. And Marcello Lippi was saying yesterday he has tremendous regard and respect for the Scotland boss. Of course, they locked horns before at club level when Lippi was in charge of Juventus and Walter Smith was the manager of Rangers. Nice official confirmation now, the 4 minutes of added time.
The crowd have just moaned in agony. 4 minutes.
Italy could still very easily pick up 4 points. They've completely dominated the second half. Touch of keeping up there from Gattuso. Totti now. And freedom for Gattuso. Well, he'd love to score on his return to Glasgow. He's not normally thought of as a goal scorer. And he ran towards the referee there. Not quite sure why.
I think he felt he was fouled after he hit the ball. Let's see. Now. Oh, it's a corner. He was appealing for a corner kick.
I think it was a bit of an optimistic shout from Rino Gattuso.
He gets very emotional about those things.
Cameronese. Beautiful early evening for football it's been here at Hampden Park. And Scotland delivered the goods in the first half, but they've been outgunned, outplayed, outthought to a large extent in the second half. They might just escape with a point.
They'll deliver the goods if they get a point out of this. This is the goods. I mean, I really didn't think they had a chance. I must say I'm very impressed with the performance of Scotland here tonight.
You didn't even think a draw was within their capability?
I thought it would be easy for Italy. I'm honest, I thought the Italians would just do what they wanted. But they've had a long, hard fight back, so they had.
And I spoke to my father this morning, watching up in Aberdeen, and he assured me it was going to finish in a 1-1 draw, so he might be right.
Yeah. I hope he had a few quid in it.
He's not a betting man. Now, Cameronese. And it's Ferguson. And a big boot by Craig Gordon. Italians don't want to take any unnecessary risks at this stage of the game, but there's just no thrust, no pressure from the Scottish attackers, and it's Cameronese. Fletcher now for Scotland. See if they can keep the ball, make a couple of passes, and play out time. BT, of course, the substitute who was introduced because Kenny Miller was clearly flagging. He put so much into this match. Certainly from the Scottish point of view, I think a strong case can be made that Kenny Miller ought to be the man of the match.
He would certainly get my vote.
Gattuso for Italy. 3 minutes into added time. We're going to have 4 minutes altogether. Totti, and it's offside. The flag was up against Christian Vieri.
But you can see the intensity has gone out of the Italian game. He wasn't offside. Oh, up in the cameras. Sorry, didn't see him. But the intensity has gone from this game as far as the Italians are concerned. I mean, it's very obvious. 1 point. Let's get in the bus, let's get to the airport, and let's get out of here.
Italy, of course, drew away to Norway. That was a 0-0 draw. And it appears that this is going to finish even Steven, at the draw of the 1-1 variety. Last few seconds at Hampden Park. Totti. Running hard at the Scotland defenders. Pirlo and Totti together. They shuffle it out of that danger area, and they found Darren Fletcher. And now, do Scotland maybe have one last opportunity to go forward? Now the Italian defenders back there in numbers. Nothing was on for Neil McCann, and it's finished in a 1-1 draw. And Walter Smith and his troops know that at least the dream is still alive. I talked about the respect between the two managers. There's evidence of it again. Marco Materazzi, a former player under Walter Smith at Everton. And Kenny Miller's goal cancelled out by that strike by Fabio Grosso for Italy. The Italians remain in a very strong position at the top of Group 5, and there's still just a glimmer of hope for Scotland. Well, encouragement for the Scotland supporters after this performance. Really encouragement after the first half performance, because that's when Scotland were at their most dangerous. They led by a goal to nil at half-time, but had to settle for a 1-1 draw. Italy deserve all the plaudits based on their second half performance. Let's take you through some of the other scores, shall we?